Nobody knew how long she had been lying there. The wind slashed across the Mercer ranch like a blade, hurling dry grass through the fading light. Dusk swallowed the horizon, painting the hills black against the dying sun. Eli Mercer wiped his hands on his worn coat, pausing mid-step. The day's work was done. Horses fed, fences checked, nothing out of place. Then he heard it, a faint cry, frail, breathless, nearly drowned by the wind. "I can't breathe." Eli froze. His pulse kicked hard against his ribs. No one lived within miles. Not a soul should be here. Yet the voice trembled again, desperate and fading. He moved toward the old shed, cautious, each step crunching against the dry earth. His hand hovered near his holster, just in case. But no gunfire came, no movement beyond the whisper of grass. The shed door hung loose, groaning on its hinges. Eli pushed it open, the dim light spilling across a room thick with dust. Shadows loomed. Dust motes shimmered in thin streaks of sun. Then he saw her, a figure curled under a heavy cloth, trembling like a trapped animal. Eli's got twisted. He knelt and brushed the edges of the covering away. The fabric was thick and suffocating. She shuddered beneath it, her breathing jagged. "Hey there," Eli said softly, voice rough with age and work. "You're safe now. I'm here." No answer, only the weak rasp of air clawing its way through her lungs. Eli pulled the cloth aside, his fingers catching on something hard, metal maybe. His instincts screamed caution. The air felt wrong. A flicker at the doorway caught his eye, a shadow watching. Eli's heart thudded. Whoever was out there wasn't him. The night seemed to hold its breath. He yanked the cloth free. She lay crumpled beneath it, a young woman, bruised and bloodied, skin streaked with dirt and fear. Her hair clung in damp tangles, her lips split. When her eyes met his, dark, wide, pleading, he heard her whisper, barely audible, "Please." Eli didn't hesitate. He scooped her into his arms, shocked by how light she was, how cold. The wind tore at his coat as he sprinted toward the cabin. The door slammed behind him, echoing like thunder in the hollow silence. Inside, warmth returned, the smell of wood smoke, leather, and pine. Eli laid her on his cot, hands steady despite his racing pulse. He tore strips from an old shirt, cleaned her wounds, poured a little whiskey over the cuts to fight infection. She flinched but didn't pull away. Her breathing steadied barely, but her eyes never left his. They carried stories he couldn't yet understand. Then something outside caught his eye. Tracks. Deep gouges in the dirt. A torn scrap of fabric fluttered in the wind, marked with a strange symbol. Eli's stomach tightened. Whoever she was, someone had hunted her here. He rubbed a weathered hand across his face, the ghosts of old battles pressing close. He'd seen violence before. He knew the sound of pursuit, the thought of protecting someone again, of losing again, cut deep. Outside, the wind carried faint echoes. Hoofbeats. Voices. Eli looked toward the window, miles from town. No help coming. He clenched his jaw, eyes on the trembling woman. Whatever was chasing her was coming fast. A voice drifted through the darkness. Her name. Eli froze. The tone was cold, commanding. Whoever called her wasn't a friend. He moved quickly, boarding the windows, reinforcing the door. Each nail he drove into the wood thudded like a heartbeat. Night had fallen hard. The sky was black and endless, the stars swallowed by storm clouds. She stirred, her voice weak. "They'll find me. You don't understand." Eli sat beside her, hand steady on hers. "Then you'd better start talking." Tears streaked her face. "They killed him," she whispered. "Important men. I saw it. I ran. They can't let anyone know." Eli's jaw tightened. He'd heard of men like that, ruthless, untouchable, the kind that made justice look like a joke. "Why come here?" he asked. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. "You're not like them." He studied her. Fear pulsed off her like heat from a forge. She was telling the truth, or at least the part that mattered most. Outside, the wind shifted. Rustling. Hooves. Voices closing in. Eli moved to the door, set traps near the porch, loaded his rifle. Decades of surviving the frontier had taught him how to prepare for trouble. The woman tried to sit up, trembling. He wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, murmuring reassurances. His mind burned with old memories. Faces gone, mistakes buried. He'd lost enough. He wouldn't lose her too. "They'll come," she whispered again, coughing. "I know," he said, checking the chamber of his rifle. "But you're not going alone." Then silence. Too still, too quiet. A shadow shifted outside the window. Large, deliberate. Her eyes widened in terror. "That's them." Eli turned, rifle raised. The night pressed close, every sound sharp. Then the door exploded inward, splintering under a heavy kick. "Get down!" Eli shouted. She dove beneath the cot as the first man stormed through. Darkness and violence collided in the narrow cabin. Eli met him head-on. Fists cracked, with splintered, breath and curses filled the air. A gunshot rang out. Smoke filled the room, thick and choking. Eli ducked low, swinging hard, pain jolting through his knuckles. The intruder staggered but kept fighting, relentless. The woman screamed his name, but Eli couldn't look away. The fight was survival, brutal and fast. He caught a glimpse of markings on the attacker's vest, a symbol burned into leather. Recognition chilled him. Syndicate, not just outlaws, organized killers, the kind who owned sheriffs, judges, whole towns, the kind that left messages carved into flesh and fear. Rage flared in Eli's chest. He hit harder. Each strike carried years of regret, of grief, of promises broken. The man stumbled, snarled, then slipped through a hidden panel in the back wall and vanished. Silence. Smoke. Heavy breathing. The woman crawled from under the cot, trembling, her face streaked with soot and tears. Eli's chest heaved, his hands slick with blood. His or the intruder's, he couldn't tell. Something gleamed on the wall where the man had escaped. A freshly carved symbol, deep and deliberate. The same mark from the cloth. The woman followed his gaze. "What does it mean?" Eli's voice was a low growl. "It means they're not finished." Outside, the wind carried the sound of laughter, cold, mocking. Eli's stomach clenched. The ranch no longer felt like home. It felt like a trap. He turned to her, jaw set. "We can't stay here." She nodded, understanding without needing words. Whatever had started tonight wasn't ending here. The hunt had just begun. Dawn had not yet broken, but the horizon burned faintly gray. Eli moved fast. The cabin was no longer safe. It was a target. He packed what little he could: water, jerky, ammunition, a coil of rope, a blanket for her wounds. Every sound outside made his shoulders tense. The horses snorted nervously, catching the scent of danger still hanging in the cold air. She leaned against the wall, pale but awake now, her face drawn tight with pain. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. Eli looked at her, jaw set. "You came to my land bleeding and hunted. I do now." The wind howled through the cracks in the walls. Smoke still lingered from the fight. Beyond the hills, faint orange glows blinked like eyes in the dark. Campfires, maybe, or torches. The syndicate wasn't hiding. They were closing in. Eli saddled his mare, the old leather creaking under his hands. He lifted the woman gently, settling her in front of him. Her small frame trembled against his chest. "Hold tight," he murmured. The door creaked open, letting in the cold breath of the plains. He guided the horse out into the night. The ranch, his father's legacy, his home for decades, stood silent behind them, swallowed by darkness. A place that once promised peace now whispered danger. They rode hard through the valleys, following the dry creek bed that wound between the hills. The moon slipped behind clouds, cloaking them in shadow. Only the steady rhythm of hooves broke the silence. For hours neither spoke. Every noise, a rustle, a coyote's cry, felt like a threat. The woman finally broke the quiet. "They'll never stop," she said hoarsely. "You don't understand who they are." "I know exactly what kind of men they are," Eli said, eyes scanning the ridge ahead. "I used to ride with them." She twisted slightly to look at him, shock flashing in her tired eyes. "That's how I knew their mark," he continued. "Years back, Before I quit the blood and the killing. Before I came here. You were part of them? Not for long, he said quietly. Long enough to know what they'll do to silence you. She swallowed, fear and understanding intertwining. Then why help me? Eli hesitated, the answer heavy on his tongue. Because once, someone helped me when I didn't deserve it. Guess I'm just paying a debt. They pressed onward, the wind biting, the plains endless. Behind them, a distant crack split the night. A rifle shot. Then another. Down! Eli barked. He jerked the reins, steering the horse off the main trail into the scrub. Bullets hissed past, tearing through brush. He slid from the saddle, pulling her down with him. They crouched low behind a ridge, breath coming in clouds. 3 riders appeared on the hilltop, silhouetted against the dim horizon. Lantern light gleamed on their vests, the same sigil carved into Eli's cabin wall. The syndicate had found them. They're splitting up, Eli whispered, watching their formation. They'll circle us. Her voice trembled. We can't outrun them. Eli's gaze was hard, unyielding. We don't run. Not tonight. He led her deeper into the ravine, where rocks formed a natural choke point. He moved with the quiet efficiency of a man who'd planned ambushes before. A single path in, narrow enough for 1 horse at a time. He knelt, laying traps from his saddlebag, wire snares, trip lines, a scattering of old nails. When he was done, he looked back at her. Whatever happens, you stay behind this rock. Don't move until I say. She nodded, though fear shone clear in her eyes. Moments later, the first horse descended the ridge. Then another. Shadows moved, slow, searching, confident. Eli waited. His rifle rested steady in his hands. The moment the lead rider crossed a narrow bend, Eli fired. The shot split the stillness, echoing across the valley. The rider dropped, his horse rearing with a scream. Chaos erupted. Gunfire answered from the dark. Splinters of rock exploded around Eli's head. He ducked low, fired again, moved positions. He was outnumbered, but he wasn't new to being hunted. The woman covered her ears, trembling, whispering prayers into the dirt. One of the riders spotted her silhouette. He charged. Eli saw him too late. The man leapt from his horse, knife flashing. Eli met him halfway. The two collided, crashing into the dust. The fight was savage. Elbows, fists, rage. The man was younger, faster. But Eli fought with purpose, with memory, with something rawer than fear. The knife slashed his arm, burning. Eli grunted, twisted, slammed the man's wrist against the rock until bone cracked. The knife fell. He didn't hesitate. The butt of his rifle came down hard, and the man went still, breathing ragged. Eli turned to the woman. We're moving. She scrambled up, clutching his sleeve for balance. You're bleeding. He ignored it. The shots had quieted. The remaining riders were retreating, for now, but it wouldn't last. They mounted again, cutting toward the canyon trails that led to town. Dawn was bleeding into the sky, streaking the plains in bruised shades of purple and gold. You said they killed someone, Eli said as they rode. Who? She hesitated. A senator, she whispered. He tried to expose their smuggling ring. I was his secretary. I saw everything. I ran with proof. She reached into her torn coat, pulling out a small metal locket. Inside was a folded microfilm, faintly glinting. This is why they're hunting me. Eli stared at it for a long moment. Then we don't just need to survive. We need to make it count. As they neared the edge of town, distant gunfire erupted again, this time not at them, but ahead. Eli spotted movement. Lawmen, dozens of them, riding fast. Someone must have heard the shots. The syndicate men appear behind them, a dust cloud rising like smoke. Go! Eli shouted. He urged the horse forward. The woman clung to him, her heartbeat thundering against his chest. The gap closed fast, hooves pounding, rifles cracking. One bullet grazed Eli's shoulder, spinning him slightly in the saddle. Pain shot through him, white hot. He gritted his teeth, held firm. Almost there, he yelled. Then came the crash of thunder, not from the sky, but from rifles ahead. Lawmen returned fire, the air thick with dust and lead. Syndicate riders fell or scattered, their pursuit breaking against a wall of gunfire. Eli pulled the horse behind a low fence as deputies swarmed the ridge. The woman slid from the saddle, legs trembling, tears streaking dirt across her face. "It's over," she whispered, voice cracking. Eli looked back toward the horizon, where smoke rose from the hills. "Not over," he said quietly, "but it's a start." Sheriff Dawes approached, rifle still smoking. "Heard shots near Mercerland," he said. "You all right, Eli?" Eli nodded. "We'll live." He looked to the woman. "She's got something the law needs to see." Dawes frowned but waved them through. Deputies began rounding up the remaining riders, their shouts echoing across the valley. Eli helped the woman down from the horse. Her knees buckled, but he caught her. "You're safe now," he murmured. Tears welled in her eyes. "I thought I'd never see morning again." He smiled faintly, a weary curve of the lips. "Morning always comes. Just sometimes it makes you earn it." The two stood on the hill as the sun rose, golden light washing over the battered town. Below, the law was taking back what the syndicate had stolen. Above, the plain stretched endless and free. Eli's coat flapped in the wind, blood staining his sleeve, dust in his hair. He glanced at her, still trembling but alive. That was enough. "You'll need protection," he said, "and witnesses." "And you?" she asked softly. Eli looked out across the land that had cost him everything and given him one last purpose. "I'll be around," he said, "long as trouble keeps finding me." The woman smiled faintly, the first real one since he'd found her in that shed. The wind carried away the last echoes of gunfire. The ranch, the blood, the darkness, all behind them now. For the first time in years, Eli felt something close to peace. Not because the fight was over, but because he'd chosen to stand again. The sun climbed higher, bathing the valley in light. They had survived the night. And somewhere deep inside, both of them knew their story wasn't about fear anymore. It was about what you do when the darkness comes, and you refuse to let it win.